Are you in the meeting? Are you in the meeting? Oh, it says people are waiting, but I don't see anybody. Oh, good. Don Gantt. I always worry about a wrong link or a wrong thing. It's all good. Yes. Good morning, Don. Good morning. How are you? Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Let me unmute you. All right, you're unmuted now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great. I can hear you
All
great.
right.
Does everything look okay from your side with this?
It looks good to me.
All right, all right.
What's up, LeeAnn?
Hi, LeeAnn.
Hi.
Let's get
How
this.
are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank
I
you.
made you yesterday.
It was nice to meet you too. Do you want to? There's a cup in there and pen.
So did y'all figure out how you're gonna give your gift cards away?
We are. So I'm gonna have the first chamber member to join is gonna get one. They just don't know it yet. And then I'm gonna ask a trivia question. So there's 7 locations or 7 offices, Gantt Insurance Agency. Is that correct? That's what I got from the website.
And you had the Norfolk one to be 8 if you want
Okay,
to.
so add Norfolk and there'll be 8. That'll be a trivia question. And then let's see what my last trivia question was.
So I need to scratch that for my introduction.
No, I would
That's
go ahead
okay.
and get it. Yeah, and see if they're paying attention.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll go ahead.
All right, how many locations?
Not supposed to be
do we
drinking
have?
vodka this early in the morning.
Oh. COVID times, anything goes.
Really, that'll definitely kill the germs.
Yeah. All right, Norfolk, Lynchburg group. Okay. All right.
Hey, Jen. Have y'all had much success with the Zoom meetings with the chamber?
We have. They've been pretty well attended. We record them so that we can share them on Facebook and YouTube, but they've been going great, and we've heard a lot of people who are very grateful to have the information and are happy we're doing the coffee and COVID. So we're grateful to have you guys on too. Thank you. So who's in Norfolk and who's in Farmville?
Don's over in Norfolk.
Okay.
And, LeeAnn and I are here. I don't know if this looks good.
I know, yeah.
I was gonna say, why don't you do it from your phone? And that way we don't look like we're not so. Hey, we're trying to do the best we can.
Yeah.
You wanna give
Don, are you always in Norfolk?
Yeah, I moved down here in November,
Okay.
and I'm back and forth. Deb's still in Farmville.
Okay.
I talk her down here probably 3 or 4 times. You know, it's weird. We were so looking forward to getting down here and going to Virginia Beach and on and on and on. And from literally November to March, she was kind of coming down every once in a while and was about to get pretty and everything.
You're talking about me.
Oh, there she is.
Totally.
Hey, as the beaches open up, I expect to see her a lot more down here.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
You would get to have the COVID situation coming your first year.
One of my favorite people, Deb, who failed retirement miserably and is working again.
Oh my gosh, you don't know how good she's got it.
You're lucky she just left.
Hey, you just need to not put this part on Facebook and, you know what I mean?
We'll cut it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Keith Coro.
Have you guys been getting a lot of questions from chamber members that they're worried about as far as going out of business? Because, you know, John and I were talking about that a little earlier, and we've been kind of blessed. I mean,
Absolutely. It's been really,
people are dealing with it.
yes, it's been so interesting. Like a lot of our people are doing well, like our construction people, they're doing fantastic. Even our like small business, like A1 Electrical, I talked to him the other day. A+. He's like super busy. You know, our restaurants, they are definitely struggling, but they've been quick to like turn it out and start doing delivery and curbside and really get innovative. And it's been really neat to see, but it has been a certain surprise at how many people are not doing terrible. Like it's just awesome.
You know, it's weird. We had probably 4 companies that turned on a dime for us with the restaurants. Home delivery, stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they just added the coverage. I was really happy with how they handled that. And it was very inexpensive to do home delivery. And like you said, a bunch of these guys jumped on it and figured it out.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. And even just things that like you've always wanted to do, like Greenfront, jumping on and doing their rug website. I mean, we've been talking about doing that for years.
Right.
And it was like, okay, we have to do it now, so let's do it, you know, and it's jamming. I mean, rugs are flying out. So, so yeah, I think a lot of just little surprises here and there of the nonprofit website. I've been on so many committees over the past few years of, we're going to do this resource website. We want to have this large database bank where we can, boom, 48 hours after COVID, here's the website that we keep talking about for 6 years.
You think about it, John, we got caught up on a whole lot of that stuff, just exactly like she's saying. And
Oh, no doubt. We definitely utilize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Our community is so resilient and just innovative and quick to pivot when they need to.
Absolutely. That's what it takes in business.
Especially small businesses, you know. Hey, Judy.
Hi, pretty Judy.
It's not often you see a picture of Ellington, she's not talking. There she is.
Hi, how are you? Hi, you again.
Hi, pretty
Sorry, I
Judy.
didn't realize I was muted. Good to see you guys.
When things get quiet, it just means we were talking about you.
I know. I already knew that.
I tell you what, Jimmy was cooking up some good food. Your husband was able to find him the other.
Good, good. Yes, Johnny's been having a great time with that. I told him he needed to join the chamber with his new venture. So,
Of course.
All right.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to walk down the street and try out some of these steaks.
Ooh, okay, I'll call you.
The big outdoor grill entertainment center,
Been a little quiet the last few days.
right?
Weather's crappy.
I got some from him yesterday.
Oh, I heard.
Ooh.
I heard. Oh, sorry about that, you guys.
How do I join
Give
the
it
conversation?
another minute. Hi, Keith. Thanks for joining us.
I wasn't sure if anybody could hear me, see me. I'm new to
We can-
Zoom, so bear with. I'm
We
a
can't
virgin.
see you, but we can
We
hear
can't-
you.
Yes, you're doing great. We can hear you.
I'm sitting in a vacant house that I'm remodeling, so I don't need to see anything.
We should be able to hear you just fine.
All right.
We'll give it another minute and I'll just admit people as they join before we get started.
And Tyler, I noticed that we've been recording since the beginning. Is there a way to stop
I
it and
can-
start it again, or?
I'd rather get everything and edit.
Okay, good.
Because then you can trim it on either end.
Okay,
So
perfect.
It's better to have more to work with.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. All right, well, it's 11:31, so we'll go ahead and get going, and I'll just let people in as they come. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ann Tyler Pollock with the Farmville Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're excited to have 2 locations of Gantt Insurance Agency on the call to talk to us about insurance today in light of COVID-19. And we will be recording this meeting to share and make it available to anyone who wasn't able to make it today.
Absolutely. Good morning. This is Jen Kinney, the marketing director for the Farmville Area Chamber. And one of the things that I'm super excited about today's Coffee and COVID is that we actually have coffee, and it is from Uptown. Praise God, they are open. And we got our coffee this morning. So shout out to Uptown, because we have been certainly missing them and having to Keurig our coffee for these calls, and that's no fun. We are grateful to have Gantt Insurance on the call with us today, and they've been super generous. And so pay really good attention, because we're going to be giving away prizes. We have a gift card to Pino's for their fabulous pizza. We have a gift card to the Fish and Pig, yum. And we have a gift card to North Street Press Club, which their patio is open. I went the other day and that was super fabulous. If you haven't had the pad thai, I highly suggest it. So welcome. We don't have bios for you guys, so I am gonna let Dawn and John introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Don, you want to get started?
I'm gonna let you roll with this thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of in charge of the commercial aspect, doing the commercial for Gantt Insurance. So, Don and I started Gantt Insurance back in 1988, and we're an independent insurance agency that deals with almost, what do you think, of almost 100 companies, all in all. So we've got a lot of partners that we have available to our customer base. We have 8 locations. We just grew 1 location. Don is up in Norfolk, and we have a commercial location up there now. And we have 7 locations in Farmville, and Lynchburg, and Culpeper. And of course, I mentioned Norfolk, and Dillon, and Crewe, and Scottsville. So you can kind of see that our footprint is based in rural areas for the most part. I think Culpeper and Lynchburg, as far as probably one of the biggest markets we're in. And Norfolk is kind of a situation for us to do commercial business throughout the whole state. And actually, Don has got expanded into some other states. I think we're all the way down the East Coast almost now. I'm not sure what states we're not in yet, but Don can explain that to you as we kind of go through. The agency is approaching $18 million in premium that we deal with every year. 50% of it's in personal lines insurance, and 50% of it's in commercial lines. And we have grown the agency to 30 employees altogether. So a lot of you here on this on this meeting have seen Don and I basically do this alone for many years. Just he and I coming to the office, and as we grew, you know, we've been very fortunate to get to the point where we're at right now. We just today we want to kind of give you some general information. Every business has been impacted in a unique way because every business is unique, and how this pandemic has kind of taken its toll on small business in particular. We want to kind of explain how the insurance industry has reacted to that impact and what they've done between trying to handle claims, how to handle coverages, and actually how to handle just customer service. How do we cancel policies for people who can't pay? Things like that. For the most part, the industry has reacted in a very positive way to our customer base, and we'll kind of get into that as we kind of move along. Today, we got Don. He's in Norfolk. We've got LeeAnn Harris. She's our commercial customer service, and we might have another agent, Sheila, maybe sign on. She's not with a client right now. Hopefully, she's busy, but she's our Farmville agency manager. So with that, I'm gonna kind of hand this over to Don, kind of get started, and we'll kind of go from there.
Good morning. LeeAnn, you certainly brightened that frame up, I will tell you that.
Thank you, Don. Thank you.
You know, I've been down in Norfolk since November, and I love coming back and seeing everybody at the Farmville office. John mentioned we have expanded. We are licensed and doing business from Delaware all the way down to Florida. The Lynchburg office, the Norfolk office was something that we had looked forward to doing for a long time. We had a lot of business in the Tidewater area, and it made sense to come down here. Preston is running the office down here with probably, I think there are three agents over there besides him, and it's worked out real well. You know, when I first started thinking about stuff to go over today, like John said, every single business we've dealt with is impacted uniquely. But there are a couple of things that every business has to suffer through with this. And I'm hoping to give you some insight into how to go through it easily. Right off the bat, any business that has more than 2 employees is required to have workers' comp insurance. Through the COVID payroll situations and the money that was given through payroll protection, some of our employees really could not come to work, and it was a combination of they have children. Some of them just had some medical issues right on down the line. And just about every company has a situation like that. Now, if you kept them on payroll, when you do your audit for workman's comp, those employees and that payroll is excluded from workers' comp. So you need to keep your records pretty sharp, and just identify those employees that you kept on payroll that actually weren't at work. The companies recognized they didn't have the exposure, but as anybody that's been through an audit knows, they look at all the payroll. So make a notation and just keep in mind when you sit down with your auditor, or if you do a self-audit, identify those employees that weren't actually on the job that you paid. The auditors will know exactly what to do. Your insurance agent, whoever you've got work comp with, will be able to identify the code that needs to go into the whole 9 yards. I know we've talked to most of our larger work comp customers, and have taken the time to go through a lot of phone calls. And I know LeeAnn's ears are burning right now because she's the front line on that, she and Preston. But you guys have done a great job with it. So work comp is going to be where you need to identify for the largest amount of savings. And that work comp deal is pretty universal, you know, across the board. The other big deal is this, and I've never seen this before in 30 years, but the State Corporation Commission, DMV, got together so that if you have a fleet of vehicles, they will actually let you delete some of the vehicles, leave the tags on them and delete it. Some of our larger trucking companies that we thought were going to be affected came out okay. I mean, the truck stayed on the road. Some didn't. Some mills were closed, some depots were closed, just a few things. And we did have a few of our customers that put trucks off to the side. If the truck has a lot of filings on it, you do want to check with DMV prior to, check with your insurance agent. But we have a special form, a commercial form we fill out that will actually set that truck aside. So guys who had fleets of 50 trucks, when we set aside, you know, 10 of them, that's 20% of the premium that came off the policy for the time it was set aside. Another deal was that we got a lot of phone calls on DMV. DMV actually extended the validity of every license, permit, and certificate through May 31st. I know DMV is working right now by appointment, and it's crazy how many commercial customers we've had to do some DMV things for. But a lot of it's online now, and I'm sure, as you know, I've experienced, I had never used Zoom before this COVID thing came up. It works great. We've seen our agents literally embrace this new technology. I have learned so much from LeeAnn and Preston in the last 30 days, just how to do things with my cell phone. It's incredible. But it's awesome. The companies absolutely stepped up for our agency. Literally, they would send us hand sanitizer. They sent us face masks. They sent us everything but toilet paper. And thank goodness JJ's was open down there by Express Mart. They kept us stocked up. As I think about what our agency went through, we never closed. John and Deb and Sheila and everybody down there worked together to keep everybody safe and distance. And I'll let John touch on that in just a few minutes. But we've certainly been blessed. I'll wrap it up that any workers' comp questions you've got, any commercial auto questions you've got, call LeeAnn. She'll be happy to answer them. If she doesn't know, she knows who to go talk to. So I'll turn it back over to you, John.
Well, I tell you, the next thing I kind of want to go over was some of the customer service aspects of the impact that the insurance companies had to adjust with our clientele. And I'm going to hand it over to Ann for just a brief time and just kind of give us an idea of what some of the things that carriers had to do to help our clients through this.
Yes, like what Don was saying, my ears have been like full of what can I do with my monthly installments? How can I make my bill? Like what can I do? So majority of carriers that we work with have been doing no cancellations but non-payments. We've also been seeing that they're extending cancellations and deferring payments. We have seen that as well. We have been just calling our carriers, seeing what they're offering to our insureds, see what we can do for them, things of that. We've just been trying to reach out to our insurers after that, tell them what their options are, working with them, just telling them what they can do, what is out there for them. But if you have any questions about it and concerns, if your current agent is not answering the phone or you don't know the questions to ask, feel free to reach out to me. Extension 2, if you call our 800 number, is press 2, come right to me. But yeah, I can ask those tough questions for the carrier and tell you the answers that they.
Yeah, and if there's any specific questions you guys have right now, just let us know. Like I said, if it's something we don't know, we'll try to figure it out. But if there's anything you guys have, just let us know right now. We're taking questions.
All right. Don, John, and LeeAnn, thank you so much for such great information. We will share this and pass along your information to anyone who sees this later. But Jen and I do have a couple of questions now, and then we're going to open the floor for anyone watching the call. My first question is, there was an email sent out touching on watching out for COVID insurance scams. Can you tell us a little bit about what we should be looking out for?
Well, with any kind of disaster or anything like that, this is a perfect opportunity for scammers. Whether it's people calling your phone and doing telemarketing, and there's so many different approaches. I can only tell you, don't give your credit card information over the phone to anyone you called. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever. I think the biggest thing we as an industry are trying to get in front of is fraud, insurance fraud, whether it's claims or whether it's, or making sure the company comes up and does the right thing to a client, for a client when they're trying to make a claim and they just don't deny it. And they know the full situation of every claim, so we can tell them for sure that it's covered or not covered. The situation is just basically, if you get a phone call from anyone, there's ways to verify whether they're legitimately calling you for your insurance. And one is your policy number. Two, you can always hang up the phone and call the number that's on your policy or call your insurance agent. That's one thing I will definitely push right now, is that there's a lot of companies out there to write direct, and you call directly to the company. This is one advantage right now. It's a perfect example of why you want an insurance agent to call and help you out through any of these situations. So without specifics, Ann, I'll be honest with you, just be careful with anybody that calls you for anything, and just hold back any information, personal information that you're asked for.
Wonderful, some great tips. Thank you.
At the beginning of the call, John, you mentioned that you guys have been open since 1988.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you? Like 8?
Hey, I'll bring this up. Literally, you'd be surprised how many people still come in and ask John if his dad is there. That's how young he was.
My kids would refer to that as the 1900s, so they feel like it's like way back then.
John does look young, though. I will give him that.
Absolutely.
It's all natural.
On a serious note, though, does everybody, and I guess with specifying the PPP loan and the EIDL loan, will everybody be audited, or is that sort of like a random selection like with your taxes?
I tell you what, I don't think the banks know. Honestly, we do business with Benchmark, and Deb and I have worked very closely with getting the PPP money, and actually staying in touch with Benchmark and Teresa Stewart, and trying to see exactly what records we need to keep. We've kept some very good records of everything, but we did before. I mean, as far as when you talk about payroll and the expenses that are included on the criteria to be able to make it a grant and not a loan. But for the most part, I don't think anybody knows exactly what the extent of the government or what resources they have to audit this whole situation. I mean, they're going to need to do something to keep everybody accountable. But for the most part, I haven't seen anything. I don't know if you've seen anything, Don, or heard anything of how the government's going to handle it. But for right now,
I don't know how the government's going to handle it. But as far as audits for general liability and workers' comp, they are doing those remotely. And that started probably 60 days ago. I mean, they realized quickly that they couldn't send auditors out.
Mhm.
So they adjusted. And that was one of the really big, that's one of the biggest things that a small business can do that has a lot of employees. Just identify who is out right now and just keep that payroll separate. But like John said, as far as the other part goes, I don't know, but they're not, insurance companies literally are going to follow protocol right on down the line. And your agent should be able to help you with any audit issue, any audit issue. I know we deal with it. We probably have to deal with 7 to 8 audits a week.
Wow.
Whether we're correcting them or whatever, but we are absolutely making sure our clients aren't overpaying for insurance. Great question.
Thanks. So you guys also talked about, the customer service aspect and being forgiving when it comes to late payments and that kind of thing. So how is that impacting your cash flow as a family-run business? And will you guys be able to recover from that?
Yeah, luckily when this thing hit and we were considered an essential business, so we could keep operating. We just had to have some protocol of how we operated in our office. Our new facility here has got the most employees in it, and luckily we have more office space for each individual person. Plus, we have enough space here to be able to keep our employees easily over 6 to 10 feet away from each other. The office is open enough that when customers come in, we have spots marked off, and honestly, as we're handing out face masks as we speak for next week or for coming up to deal with more customer inflow to the offices. We're lucky that we didn't get to zero revenue like a lot of small businesses did. We deal with renewals, we deal with our customers. So our revenue has been steady and hasn't been impacted as much. Our growth in new business or new business influx has been cut quite a bit, but we noticed in the last week, actually 2 weeks probably, that people have adjusted to this, and we're starting to see new cars being bought on the personal line side. Like Don said, we've seen the commercial aspects of commercial business actually expand. I mean, trucking is rolling right now. We're starting to see our dealerships, they have, starting to sell more cars this week than they have in the whole month of March. So we're starting to see a lot of these companies come back. For us personally, though, we just had to make some adjustments of how our business, not just business flow, but our customer flow, how we dealt with them in an in-person manner. So that kind of wraps it up.
We're blessed across the board. The customer base we have is very resilient. We've had a lot of guys, you think about it, we've been in business for over 30 years. Hubbard Lash,
with 100,
is them. They had been in business over 100 years. So our clientele across the board has seen some hard times. I mean, especially if you think about it from the 100-year aspect.
Right.
Wow.
John will touch on this in a little bit, but we hate it when a company when anybody calls us and they're going out of business. And luckily, we haven't seen a lot of those calls. Farmville's just Prince Edward and Farmville, the 5 counties, great place to do business across the board.
It is. We've got some super innovative and resilient businesses here in Farmville and business leaders. We are
Absolutely.
certainly fortunate.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we can go ahead and open the floor to any questions that anyone on this call might have. So if you do have a question, you can unmute yourself or use a reaction in the bottom, and I'm happy to let you ask. All right. Maybe not. We'll move on to our door prizes. So Jen's holding the door.
For John.
Oh, sure. Please go ahead.
Sorry about that. I'm new to this, so I don't wasn't sure if you could even see me or hear me.
You know,
John, I need to give you a call, I guess, about a situation. I don't have payroll at our tanning salon, but we were closed for our 2 busiest months of the year. So do I need to call you and address that directly to see if there's any other help that we can get?
yeah, I think what you're, I think you're kind of asking if there's any coverage under the policy for the closure.
Yeah, that's one of my questions for you.
Yeah, the situation which you're looking at with this virus is coverages for loss of income for, and this is also kind of impacted by workers' comp also, but in a different way. You know, what we're looking at on the loss of income, Keith, is the coverage is based on peril of the policy, which in other words means has to be a named physical loss to the structure of your business for the loss of use to be kicked in. Communicable diseases, where anybody can get it, kind of it is excluded from your workers' comp policy, and is also on the loss of income is excluded. Unfortunately, when the government shuts you down, there's nothing that's in your insurance policy that would cover that. We've dealt with that quite a bit on both ends, and kind of just a little bit of information. I don't know whether this is going to be a situation or not, but what I've heard on the news and heard from Monty Mason, who's a senator for the state, or a state senator for Williamsburg, he represents Williamsburg, has stated that the proposal is for the government to try to put together a stimulus package in like a later phase that would be giving the money to the insurance companies to accrue out to their customer base for loss of income. If that comes out and it's a situation where your coverage has loss of income and your company receives money to pay that out to you as for loss of income, they will be looking for, we'll be calling you actually and trying to get out to you and turn that claim in as quick as possible and try to get the information that's going to be pertainable to your loss. Unfortunately, right now there's no coverage under your insurance policies for loss of income under this circumstance. Does that kind of answer your question?
Not what I wanted to hear, of course, but yeah, it answers it.
Well, I tell you what, we will, like I said, anybody who is looking towards making a claim should still call their insurance agent. I mean, Keith, we'll still be looking towards your company and pushing the information towards them. And if things change and the insurance companies step up to the plate and and are allowed to facilitate these funds to our small businesses. I personally think it's the smartest thing that the government could ever do is hand it over to the private sector and let them distribute it to the small businesses that had the responsibility enough to go ahead and have that insurance in place. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be, it's very, the odds of that happening are very small, but we shall see. And if that does happen, we'll definitely be calling our insurance, and you're one of them, and letting you know if there's an opportunity there for you to get relief for the income you lost.
You know, on the construction side, Keith, we've seen a real upsize in construction as well as trucking.
The tanning got crushed though.
Yeah, just like restaurants.
Oh yeah, luckily my commercial construction hasn't taken a hit at all. And speaking of that, that's a nice looking office you have there in Farmville.
Thank you. We had a great contractor help us with that, Keith. Keith did a lot of work for us, and we absolutely appreciate him to no end.
They did a great job.
Same. He's the reason we have great storage here at the chamber office.
There you go.
He's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Keith, and I don't know if you noticed, but the town is also offering some mini grants, as well as the county has just announced that they're doing an initiative. So make sure that you reach out to the two of them. It's different than what Farmville Downtown Partnership was doing, and so I think that you might fall into those categories.
Okay.
All right, and if you need help with that, you can call us later and I'll get you that information.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
All right. Keith, you're actually our first door prize winner because you were the first chamber member to join. So congratulations. You've won our first door prize. So thank you for your question on top of that.
So Keith, I'm going to let you choose, since you're number one. You want Fish and Pig, North Street Press Club, or Pino's?
Pino's.
Pino's. All right. I'm putting your name on it, and I'll get that in the mail to you today. Thank you again to Gantt for their generosity.
Thank you.
3 grateful restaurants.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next will be a trivia question, and you did hear this at the beginning of John, and LeeAnn's presentation. So how many locations does Gantt have? Does anybody know?
9.
8.
All right,
said 8?
Who said
Judy.
8?
Judy. Yay. Judy, you want Fish and Pig or Press Club?
I'll take the Press Club.
Sweet.
Thank you.
All right, and just so everyone knows, they are located in Norfolk, Lynchburg, Crewe, Culpeper, Dillwyn, Farmville, Madison Heights, and Scottsville. So those are the 8. And then our final trivia question. Does anyone know who our last coffee and COVID guest was? There were quite a few of you on the call.
I'm getting ready to pull my phone out and back it up.
Sherry McGuire.
Yes.
Was it?
All right. That was Brad. Yes.
See, I was on it and I don't even remember. I was thinking it was the Farmers Co-op.
No, Longwood Small Business Development Center.
Where am I? I don't know.
All right. Congrats, Brad. Wonderful. All right. Jen's got some, let's see, thank yous and reminders, and then we are
Jen
good.
clearly needs more coffee this morning. Let me go to my other screen. All right. My reminders are, so I just want to, I'm super grateful to Don for reaching out to us and his willingness to do this Coffee and COVID with us today. And so I just want to stress that if there is anybody else that has great ideas for Coffee and COVID, we've gotten great feedback. They've been super helpful, even if you're not able to make the live presentation. they've been huge clicks on our newsletters every Friday. So people are going back and watching them and really enjoying the education that they're getting from them. We are getting ready to transition our resource Facebook page. It is going to be a recovery Facebook page soon. And so we're going to work on that this afternoon and kind of get those stipulations out. We are going to run our gift card website for about 2 more weeks, and then we're probably going to close that out. I think that now that people are starting to get back open, that's not getting as much traffic as it was in the beginning of COVID. So we're super pleased about that. But if you still want to go on and buy gift cards to help local restaurants or local businesses with cash flow, you can certainly do that. And next week's Coffee and COVID, if I remember this correctly, we are going to have Scott Davis, who is our new town manager, and he is going to talk about the opening phases and what it means for the town of Farmville and what his expectations are for the community in Farmville when it comes to these different opening phases, and hopefully give us some clarification on what they're going to look like and what he hopes that they will look like. So hope you will join us every Wednesday at 11:30. We will send out links and all of that, but we're super grateful to the Gantts. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
We've
Thank
enjoyed
you.
Come
Thank
see us in
you.
Norfolk.
Will do.
The beaches are open. I'm coming.
I know.
Thank you, everyone.
This weekend.
Thank
Bye, everyone. Have a
you.
wonderful day.
Bye-bye.